Brother Anthony Smith, a.k.a. Gandhi.
Black Gandhi.
And Brother Kenny Harden, a.k.a. Nat Turner. But now we just finished up a great lunch today here at DJ's, and we're talking about the upcoming event on July 23rd at the Millers Recreation Center at 6 p.m. Kenny, I'll start with you first. What could you explain to the viewers what the event is all about?
What we're trying to accomplish is, again, establishing self-reliancy, self-dependency, removing ourselves from dependency on those who are not invested emotionally in our communities. Now, the first thing I want to explain is this is not a divisive movement, because crime and violence is not unique or specific to one community, one culture, or one demographic. What we have done is try to invite everyone who is concerned about restoring pride and hope in our community. Whereas I'm more concerned about a lot of the ills that are affecting the Black community, I am ready to partner with anyone who can help us achieve our goals. So what we are doing in response to the city's lack of response to our concerns and our needs, we are going to hold a community-wide meeting. And we've been focusing on trying to limit and stop the amount of violence in the communities. But what we've realized is we need to reassess what we're trying to accomplish. We have to give hope and restore pride back in the community. And the way that we do this is we come up with one solid agenda for the entire community, and then we give people the opportunity to come up with their own methodologies, their own solutions, and their own resolutions to fix these issues. So what we're going to do is, again, not pull ourselves away from the city, but we're going to create our own agenda. We're going to create our own priority areas, and then we're going to work with the city to come up with some viable solutions. So on July 23rd at 6 p.m. at the Miller Recreation Center, we want everyone to come out. We don't need to have leaders. Everybody is a leader in your own right. We're not waiting for one individual to come out and lead. What we're trying to do is empower everyone to understand and realize that you do have the resources to be a leader in your own community.
Thank you, Kenny. That's a lot of great information there. Brother Smith, I know you're a pastor in the community, organizer. You just dropped a book, Soul Emergence. You got a lot of great things going on. Had the opportunity to observe you a couple of weeks ago at the one of the think tanks, man, and you facilitated on internal oppression, which was awesome. I know you have a role to play also in the July 23rd meeting as well. Could you tell the viewers what your role will be at the meeting?
Right. My role will be to facilitate questions that are more open-ended, that give space for the citizens in the community to give voice to how their experience has been living in that particular community. And a lot of that comes from my own, you mentioned I'm a pastor. There's a scene in the gospel where Jesus is going through a city, and there's a man who doesn't have a voice. He's mute from birth. And the crowd is drowning him out. But Jesus walks through this community, and Jesus notices this man. He fixes his gaze upon him. And Jesus walks over to him and heals him. And the healing is quite remarkable in that what happens is this man regains his voice. He regains his ability to speak. And so I feel my role as a faith leader, as a pastor in the community, is to be one who helps cultivate space in the community where people can give their voice and speak their mind and tell their story and to give their testimony. And a part of that is also creating a choir of voices to energize democracy in this community where people feel like they have the courage, that they have the power. And so I just want to be a part of anything where people feel like they are powerful, that they are citizens, and they do have a voice. They can turn and give direction and give leadership in this community. Just like my brother said right here, where people take ownership and leadership of their own communities. And I believe the power is there. I believe God is even there to help people, empower people to raise their voice, to give each other direction and leadership in their own communities. And I really believe this. In the kind of convening that we'll be doing next week, I really believe this truth that a mentor of mine told me years ago. He says, when people come together, concerned citizens come together in a space like that, when we descend upon Miller Rec Center, the first maxim is this, the first truth is this: all the wisdom and power that we need will be in that room to turn this community around. And my prayer is that everybody will believe that.
And I want to echo something that Pastor Smith said. And it's a personal frustration for me, and I know it's a frustration, and the reason that this meeting on the 23rd is so important. Back in 1995, we had a similar movement which was led by the city council and the city leadership. We allowed them to come in and dictate the agenda, tell us what the problems were. They came up with what the resolutions were, and they pretty much told us what the interventions were going to be. Well, fast forward to 2014, we're at the Miller Recreation Center again, talking about the same problems, talking about the same resolutions, and talking about the same interventions. Where is the progress? So what we are doing, as my pastor said, we're taking the lead in this. No longer are we allowing people that do not live in the community, do not have emotional and physical investment in the community, to dictate what the agenda is going to be. We're not allowing people outside of the community to come in and tell us what the solutions need to be. Now, if you want to come and partner with us, that's fine. But no longer are we allowing people to dictate the agenda. One last thing that I thought was of vital importance, and what my pastor said was, we have to give a voice to the voiceless. For so long, you've got people like my parents who have lived in the West End community for 42 years and have never had a voice in the direction of what's going on with the community, what the problems, and then what the solutions are. So what we want to do is empower everyone on the West End, everyone on the East End, everyone in the East Spencer to come together and find your voice and share your voice. The fact that we are going to be facilitators and moderators, we don't own this meeting. The community owns this meeting. And I want to just ensure my presence is there to enable people to have that voice, and that's what I intend to do. It's not an antagonistic relationship. I don't have any problem working with city leaders. I don't have any problem working with the Tea Party. I don't have a problem with working with any other party. As long as you are coming there with the right mindset that we are going to allow the people who are impacted by what's going on to lead the solutions.
Wow, that's great information. And to conclude, I have two open-end questions that I would like to ask both of you guys, and I'll start with Brother Anthony Smith first. And I'm kind of using your question, Brother Smith, as I see sometimes that you post. What does a progressive, energetic, and positive community look like?
Good question.
That's a really good question. One, it looks like a place where people come together and they all recognize each other's gifts. They recognize each other's passions, and they find ways to work together on shared actions, shared perspectives. Doesn't mean everybody's got to agree on every last jot and tittle of everything, every last dot, every last T, I and T's, whatever. But it's a community where there's a vibrancy, where there's life-giving, and that comes from people connecting on those places, those shared spaces, those shared ideas, those shared practices, and those shared actions together. So one, a community looks like that. One, where people can come across, like my brother just said, where people can come across their differences, and we can work together on 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 different items. And so, and also what that does is that creates a space where creativity begins to emerge, where innovation begins to emerge. When you look at the whole conversation about social innovation, the conversation is about how different groups come together and they find intersection with each other, and how those intersections in communities that have intersection where creativity bursts forth. And so that means economic flourishing. That means greater civic and political engagement and participation in the political process in their community. It means cultural engagement, cultural awareness, people affirming their differences in culture. It also means, from a spiritual standpoint, when the spirituality of a place, especially here in the Bible Belt, in this particular community where it's very churched, where the faith is seen as one, how can the faith community partner to bring about greater flourishing? One of the things we've talked about is the importance we feel in this summons, of this call to help participate in Renaissance. How do we bring Renaissance in this place? How does we allow a cultural, community rebirth to take place where people feel a renewed passion, a renewed love, and a recommitment and investment to make this community a better place? And that's kind of a big picture response that I would give to that question.
Wow, man, that's great, man. That sounds like a utopia.
It's going to be a struggle.
Yeah.
But my brother here and yourself, man, we talked about that. We're ready for the struggle.
There's no
Absolutely,
struggle,
man.
there's no progress. I'm
Exactly.
ready.
And Brother Harden, I'd like to give you a word, and I would like for you to define that word and make it applicable to society, community, and environment. And that one word is hope.
Okay. And a lot of that, when I think about the word hope, a lot of it refers back to what my pastor just said. But when I think about hope and I define hope, I look at it as a transitory word, moving the community from one area to a better area. And just a couple of things when I think about hope, what I think about is progress. If we're still talking about the problems from 2013 and 2014, there's no reason for hope. There's no reason for progress. And Brother Sifford, you've said many times, we cannot use 1960 strategies and tactics to help infuse hope and resolve 2014 problems. And what I think we need to do to reach hope and achieve hope is, number one, we have to embrace our anger. There's nothing wrong with anger unless if you channel it into something constructive and positive. We have a right to be angry. We need to be angry. But what we need to do to achieve hope is move that anger emotion to logic. And that's what I want to help do when I talk about restore hope. I want to move people from emotion to logic. I want to see progress. So in 2015, it's just not a code word. It's just not a cliche word. It's not just something to say that we are striving for. We got to quit sinking. We got to quit marching. We got to quit wishing. We got to quit praying. We got to quit hoping. And we've got to put some tangible things into place to try to achieve hope. And we need to move to a level of assertiveness versus anger. I want to see people speak up. When they see a perceived injustice, I want people to feel confident in speaking out. I want to see people take the leadership. Martin brought us hope. Malcolm brought us hope. They're not coming back. So what we need to do is say, Kenny Harden is not my source of hope. Pastor Smith is not my source of hope. Hope resides in each one of us, and we have the resources, we have the intestinal fortitude, we have everything within us to achieve that hope and not wait for it to be placed upon us.
Wow. Well, you've heard it here, live and direct, in the restaurant, DJs. We've got two social and political and religious jargonauts. Hope that everyone can come. Hope that everyone can make it July 23rd, Miller's Rec, 6 p.m. I'll be standing room only, so get there early. Can somebody say anything about the survey?
look, I can give you, and do you want me to tackle that, or you want? Okay.
Yeah.
What we are planning to do, just to give you a quick rundown of what we hope to achieve in those 2 hours. Again, we have formed alliances and partnerships with a lot of other people who are very interested in helping us restore that hope and pride. So we have joined forces with the West End Community Organization and the West End Pride Organization. And what we plan to do, Dee Dee Wright, who is one of the leaders of the West End organization, she is going to kick us off with some motivational words and some words of inspiration. Once she finishes, the Master Sergeant Clee Atkinson, who is with the North Carolina State Highway Patrol, he is going to take us through a 30-minute presentation on giving us perspectives and giving us the ability to identify gang activity that's occurring in our community and occurring in maybe our families. After he is done, Alex Clark, who served an 18-year federal sentence for drug distribution, he's got a personal story that I think everyone needs to hear. After we finish those 2 things, Pastor Smith and Shirley McLaughlin, who works with the West End Pride Organization, they're going to have a Q&A forum. We're going to have some appreciative inquiry type questions. We want people to feel like they can vent, they can share. We don't want it to get into a deconstructive session of where we're just complaining. We want this to be fruitful. We want this to be progressive. So we're going to compile some information and give these people voices to talk about things that have frustrated them. And then where the meat of this session comes in, Dr. Yolanda Meade Bird, Brenda People. We're going to then reconvene at the 90-day period. We're going to reconvene at a 6-month period. And then at a year, we're going to sit down as a community and an entity and see, have we achieved, have we reached that level of hope? Are we still looking at 2014 problems in 2015? So that's kind of a quick agenda of what to expect on Wednesday.
Okay. You've heard it here, reporting behind enemy lines from Tsunami Development. The commentator Chris Sifford, along with 2 huge giants in the community, Brother Anthony Smith and Brother Kenny Harden. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.